The news marathon continues, brought to you by the information teams of ICTV Fakti and STB Vikna. I'm Vyacheslav Tsimbalyuk, welcome. The Russians keep shelling Kherson without pause. Around 10 a.m., strikes hit the Korobelny district. The regional military administration reported at least 2 people wounded. They are men aged 75 and 37, both suffering from mine explosive injuries. The older man was taken to the hospital. And during the day, in the Dnipro district, a 65-year-old woman was wounded right in her home. And these are the consequences of the strike on Berislav. In the morning, the Russians shelled the central part of the city. There were 5 hits. Fortunately, there were no casualties here, but homes and infrastructure facilities were damaged. The Russians continue to kill civilians in Donetsk region. Just in the past day, the occupiers took the lives of 3 residents of the region. 2 people were killed in Myrnograd and another civilian in Starorayski. This was reported by the head of the regional military administration, Vadim Filashkin. Overall, the Kramatorsk and Bakhmut districts came under enemy fire. More than 20 private houses and power lines were damaged. The evacuation of the population continues. During the day, the police managed to evacuate 19 people, including 9 children. Due to Russian shelling, 1 person was killed and 3 others were injured in the Kharkiv region over the past day. The day before, a Russian drone struck a civilian car in the village of Pidliman, Isyum district. A man who happened to be nearby at the moment of the strike was wounded, as well as 3 people who were in the car. A woman later died in the hospital from her injuries, according to the Borivska village council. Another drone attacked a car in Odrorobivka. The occupiers shelled a house in Skosohorivka with artillery and used a multiple rocket launcher to strike residential buildings in Tsirkuni. This is already the outskirts of Kharkiv. In Mykolaiv, debris is still being cleared after the Russian night attack. A drone hit a supermarket and a fire broke out on the territory of the car service station. Fortunately, no one was injured. The Russian attack began at 3 a.m. Ukrainian forces neutralized 18 Shahed-type attack drones and decoy drones. However, there were also hits. The fire was quickly extinguished by state emergency service units. Volunteers from the Ukrainian Red Cross Rapid Response Team and emergency utility crews also assisted. Cars were damaged, windows in a nearby apartment building were broken, and all the equipment in the furniture workshop was destroyed. All of them, every single one of them as a whole.
The windows are shattered. The walls are basically merged with this area. Our walls are simply destroyed. The entire 2nd floor is completely burned out. All our machines, all our equipment, it all burned. Everything is destroyed. In
the Black Sea, the Ukrainian Navy delivered a precise strike against an elite Russian Special Forces unit and published the corresponding video. The invaders were eliminated on the Sivash drilling platform, the so-called Boyko Tower. Along with enemy personnel, surveillance equipment and an anti-tank missile system were destroyed. At the same time, Kremlin propaganda is trying to portray this defeat as a victory and is publishing a fake video allegedly showing a Ukrainian boat being hit by a Russian drone. However, the Ukrainian Navy Command explained that, in reality, these are frames of a successful strike by our kamikaze drone on an enemy watercraft. 83 combat engagements have been recorded on the front line. Since the beginning of the day, according to our general staff, the occupiers have stormed the Pokrovsk area the most, 32 times. Another 11 Russian attacks were recorded in the Kupiansk and Oleksandrivka directions. There were also 9 battles on the Kostiantinivka section of the front. Additionally, there were 7 more attempts by the enemy to storm our positions in the Huliaipol and Lyman directions. A soldier from the 65th Separate Mechanized Brigade defending Zaporizhia under the call sign Cosmos had to spend 135 days on the front line under daily attacks from enemy FPV drones. At the same time, junior sergeants and their comrades constantly repelled attacks by small groups of occupiers who tried to break through the Ukrainian defenses. Cosmos's group was repeatedly supposed to be rotated out, but enemy attack drones interfered each time. At the slightest opportunity, they destroy our vehicles, so the soldiers have started a fundraiser for cars and are asking anyone who cares to contribute.
I went out in it today.
His shoes are completely covered in trench mud, and on his head is a hat over unusually long hair. Is this your usual hairstyle, or is it normally shorter?
No, it's shorter, much shorter. You know, sometimes when it rains, the water mixes together with the mud, and then it gets all curly and twisted up just like this.
He manages to genuinely smile, recalling the long period spent on the front line. How long did you spend at the
position?
The soldier with the call sign Cosmos 23 has been serving under contract for 2 years now. This isn't his first combat deployment from Zakarpattia, but for the junior sergeant it turned out to be a record-breaking one. Did you expect to go in during the summer and come out in the fall?
No, I didn't count on that. Well, that's just how it turned out. We try to stay put and wait for good weather because it's safer to go out then.
His commander adds that they've tried to rotate this group out several times, but it hasn't worked because there are always swarms of enemy drones in the sky.
Once a shell hit the vehicle, another time the weather conditions didn't allow it. The third time, the relief team only made it halfway before shelling started. They tried 5 or 6 times to rotate them out.
For over 4 months at the position, soldiers of 65th Brigade held out thanks to supplies delivered by heavy drones. A soldier kept statistics of attacks in Pivka, tracking everything to the Cosmos.
Day after day, from 8 in the morning until 5 in the evening.
On this section of the Zaporizhzhia front, the soldiers say the enemy is actively using small group tactics.
The Russians are taking advantage of bad weather to infiltrate in small groups. This is the so-called infiltration tactic, slipping into our positions. And so practically every day there are clashes.
Cosmos and his comrades have also had to repel infantry attacks.
They come at us, we greet them properly, and then we give them tickets to Kherson. How many?
You're on your record. Oh.
Not many, just a few. We offer them to surrender, but they don't want to, or maybe they're deaf.
When returning from Zero to the mainland, Cosmos carried a comrade on his back who had injured his leg by stepping on a mine.
We bandaged him up there. We set his leg with some wooden sticks and wrapped it with tape to fix it in place. I was almost carrying him, holding my rifle, and he was barely crawling. Then somehow we found a stretcher along the way. Artie, get on the stretcher. And off we went. We had to walk 3 kilometers through the swamp. Then eventually the guys arrived and picked us up.
How did your family react when they heard your voice?
I can't put it into words.
The soldiers of the 65th Brigade say that nowadays vehicles are essential in Ukraine. They've become expendable at the front, but thanks to them, the lives of defenders are being saved.
Cars, pickups, SUVs, they literally make 1 or 2 trips and then need repairs. That's why we urgently need SUVs these days. And we ask for support for the fundraisers that will help us carry out our combat missions.
A father of 2 young children, the soldier known as Cosmos, says that right now he has some time to rest, but soon he'll be ready to head back to the front line, even if it means spending long months there.
We have to hold on. What else can we do? We won't let the enemy onto our land.
Andrei Pochtuk, Artem Dezhenkov, ICTV, United News.
The enemy is attacking the railway more and more often, and unfortunately for this, the enemy has accomplices among Ukrainians. An 18-year-old resident of the Kremenchug district was spying on military trains in the Poltava and Kirovohrad regions. He installed a hidden mini-camera on one of the local Ukrzaliznytsia railway sections, with an extra battery and remote access for Russian intelligence agents. They tracked the routes of Zaisu freight trains and could count the number of armored vehicles heading toward the front. The agent was also preparing data on air defense forces in the center of the country. US President Donald Trump is convinced that he will be able to end Russia's war against Ukraine within a few months. He said this while speaking to journalists aboard the plane. He explained that this would happen because Russia wants to do business with the United States. Trump is convinced that Putin wants to trade with Americans and make a lot of money for Russia. So this will help stop the war. As for providing Ukraine with Tomahawk missiles, Trump said that for now he does not intend to do so, noting, "It's not that I couldn't change my mind in the future, but for now, no." He assured that the US has more nuclear weapons than any other country, so they could blow up the world 150 times over. Trump also stated that he does not control the issue of Russia's frozen assets, which could be used to finance arms purchases for Ukraine. As usual, he reminded everyone that he had resolved 8 wars and was confident that settling the situation in Ukraine would be easier. When asked by journalists what could be the last straw that would mean Putin does not want to end the war in Ukraine, the US leader responded as follows.
There is no last straw. Sometimes you just have to let the conflict run its course. This is a tough war for Putin. He has lost many soldiers, possibly 1 million. That's a lot of soldiers. And it's a tough war for Ukraine. It's hard for both sides. Sometimes you just need to allow things to come to an end.
The meeting between US President Donald Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping paved the way for involving China in resolving Russia's war in Ukraine, Bloomberg reports. The negotiations were a breakthrough in bilateral relations, according to representatives of Beijing, who explained that the United States recognized China as an equal partner for discussing various issues. The exchange of views resulted in a trade truce, although the main differences between the world's two largest economies remain, have not yet been resolved. However, Chinese economist and regular political advisor to the country's government, David Daokui, believes that an equal partnership will allow Washington and Beijing to participate in broader negotiations, including on security issues concerning Ukraine, Taiwan, the South China Sea, and the Middle East. The publication also recalls that after the meeting, Trump announced that he and Xi had agreed to work together to end the war between Russia and Ukraine.